Unexpected, brilliant, the rarest classification on chess.com and the one every player is secretly chasing. A brilliant move is not just the best move in the position, it is a move so unexpected that most players would never even consider it, usually a sacrifice. In this position, white has a rook, a bishop, and a queen on h3, all pointed at the castle. And a queen on h3, all pointed at the castle, taking the knight. On paper, a terrible trade, a rook for a knight. But that knight was the only piece standing between white and checkmate. With it gone, the queen delivers checkmate on h7 on the very next move. And then there is this. White's queen captures a rook in the center of the board. Black recaptures, thinking they just won the exchange. But wait, white's knight is now eyeing d7, and on d7 it forks the king and the queen at the same time. Everything white gave up comes back with interest, and then some. That is what a brilliant move feels like. Not just impressive, usually the only winning idea hiding in the position that nobody else would find. Blunder. Every chess player knows this feeling. The move leaves your hand and then you see it. The threat you completely missed was sitting right in front of you the whole time. At the beginner level, games are almost entirely decided by who makes fewer blunders. Even at 1,000 ELO, one or two can decide the game. They rarely happen in complicated positions. They happen when you're so focused on your own plan that you forget your opponent has one too. In this position, white has a knight on f3 and a bishop on c4. The f7 pawn is right there, undefended, and the knight jumps to g5 to attack it. It looks aggressive, but black can just take that knight with the queen for free. A whole piece gone, just like that. But that is nothing compared to this. White has a rook and queen lined up on the g-file pointed straight at the castled king. White goes queen takes g7. It has to be checkmate. Except it is not, because on the other side of the board, completely out of sight, black has a bishop. And that bishop is staring straight at the queen. Not only is it not checkmate, white just gave away the most powerful piece on the board for free. The game that was about to be won is now completely lost. Book. Before the game even starts, chess has already been played, and millions of times across hundreds of years, the same opening sequences have been tested, refined, and memorized by the strongest players in the world. Book moves are those sequences, established theory that chess.com recognizes from its database. Some lines stay in theory all the way to move 15. Most beginners will follow theory for a few moves and then go off book entirely. That is completely fine. Book moves are not good or bad. They are neutral. You are just walking a path that has already been walked, forced. Sometimes there is no decision to make. A forced move is the only legal move in the position. Not the best move, not a good move, just the only move. Usually it happens when your king is in check and only one square is safe. For example, white here decides to play bishop takes h7 check. The black king has one square to step to. That is a forced move, and it is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, white's move might have been a mistake if black can manage to trap the bishop before white escapes. But it goes even further than that. Say the bishop check is played when h6 has already been pushed. The king still only has one move, but white has not gained anything. The bishop is still vulnerable. The position did not get worse for black. White just wasted a move. Forced moves happen in all kinds of situations. When your opponent is checkmating you with a queen and king, and your king shuffles back and forth in the corner. Every one of those moves is forced. Completely different positions, same classification. One move, no choice. Miss. You played a perfectly reasonable move. Your pieces are active, the position is fine, and the game continues. Then you run the analysis and see it, the move you walked right past. Let's say you are playing the Scandinavian. You have your queen on a5 and just a few moves into the game. Your opponent plays queen to h5, threatening the f7 pawn. It looks dangerous, so you play e6, blocking the bishop and defending the threat. Solid move. Except your queen was staring straight at the white queen the entire time. One move and the most powerful piece on the board is gone for free. Instead, you played e6 and the game goes on like nothing happened. A miss does not collapse your position, but a free queen just walked past you, and in chess, opportunities like that do not always come back. The stronger a player gets, the fewer misses they have. Not because they calculate every line, but because their pattern recognition starts flagging the right ideas before they even consciously think about them. Missed win. This one is harder to stomach. With a miss, you passed up something good. With a missed win, you passed up the end of the game. The most painful version is the accidental stalemate. Let's say you are converting a completely winning queen and king endgame. The opponent's king is cornered, and then one move too aggressive, and suddenly the king has no legal moves. Draw. The game you were about to win just slipped away, but sometimes a missed win is hidden in plain sight. Early in a game, after just a few moves of the Caro-Kann, white has a knight that can jump to a square that looks completely normal, but the queen on e2 is pinning black's pawn, the king cannot escape, and it is immediate checkmate. Most players in that position play something completely reasonable and move on, never knowing the game was already over. Inaccuracy. Nothing felt wrong. The move looked natural, the position seemed fine, and you moved on without a second thought. But somewhere in that decision, a small amount of advantage quietly slipped away. Say you are 3 moves into the opening, and instead of developing a piece you push a pawn, h6 or h3, just making a little space. The game does not fall apart, but you wasted a tempo, handed your opponent a free move to improve their position, and created a tiny weakness that might not matter for 20 moves. Until suddenly it does. Even grandmasters play inaccuracies. One is nothing, a string of them, and the position starts drifting in a direction you did not choose. Beginners should not worry too much about inaccuracies. But when you are ready to improve, understanding why a move was inaccurate is one of the best ways to level up your thinking. Mistake. A step beyond an inaccuracy and much harder to ignore. In the opening, it might be giving away a central pawn through a miscalculation. You are not losing immediately, but that pawn is gone and it is going to create problems. In the endgame, a mistake can be even more costly. In this position, white is already down a pawn in a rook endgame, fighting hard for a draw. The rook moves to what feels like an active square, but black immediately fires back with a rook check, winning another pawn that white cannot afford to give up. The game is not over, but defending just got significantly harder. Mistakes are how most amateur games actually get decided, not by one catastrophic move, but by one side slowly accumulating small concessions until the position becomes impossible to hold. Good. Nobody talks about good moves. A good move just keeps the position solid. It avoids problems, does what needs to be done, and moves on. In that same rook endgame, instead of the active move that costs a pawn, you play something quieter, a move that covers the key threats and keeps your drawing chances alive without creating new problems. Not the best move, but sensible, practical, and hard to punish. Good moves show up everywhere. In openings where you just play a reasonable developing move. In middle games where you choose a solid plan over a risky one. Players who consistently make good moves are very hard to beat. Excellent. The engine liked it. Not the top choice, but close enough that the difference barely matters in practice. In this position, you are playing the London system, and on move 6 you push a pawn to start an attack on the king side. Strong idea, does not weaken your position, puts real pressure on your opponent. The engine has a slightly different plan in mind, but your move is excellent chess. A few moves later, you castle. Also excellent. If you play a whole game full of excellent moves, you are playing at a genuinely high level. Not miracles, not perfect calculation, just consistently strong decisions that keep the position healthy and give your opponent nothing easy to work with. Best. The engine's top choice. No extra credit for difficulty, just confirmation that the move played was the most accurate option in that position. Sometimes a best move is completely obvious. You trade pieces and recapture. Simple. Other times it is a deeply calculated idea that took several minutes to find. The label does not distinguish. In the London, the knight development the engine prefers over the pawn push. Straightforward, not flashy, but exactly what the position required. Stringing together a long sequence of best moves across an entire game means you are seeing the board at the level the engine sees it. That is rare, and it is something worth working toward. Great. A great move is the only good move in the position. Not the best among several options. The one move that works where everything else loses or throws away a significant advantage. Great moves happen constantly in endgames because endgames demand precision. Here your king is buried on the back rank, pawns locked around it, and your opponent has a forced checkmate that cannot be stopped. The only way out is a back rank check with your rook, force a recapture, and deliver checkmate yourself before they can. Any other move and the game is over. It's not flashy and not a sacrifice. Just the exact right idea where everything else fails. And sometimes the only way to survive is perpetual check. Trapping the opponent's king in the corner with your queen, forcing a draw that would otherwise be a loss. Every one of those checks is a great move. Any deviation and the draw disappears.